Hello, everybody. Good morning. Greg here from Floweringspikes. And I got a collection in a little while ago. I had about 10 or so Heifetz recordings on RCA, all first press. And a lot of them I had already had the analog productions versions for years and thought those sounded really great. And so I figured since I had all of them here and I had the analog productions, it would be a really great opportunity to just shoot them out and listen to them back to back a couple of times. And the other day, me and Michael Muller were here and we were working on some stuff for the website. So he listened to them also. So I'm going to share my opinion of the sound of these records and also his. And basically, we agreed on each one. So it's not just my own personal confirmation bias or whatever. And I always thought really quick also I would sort of do like a system rundown, because inevitably when you make a video like this, someone somewhere is going to say, well, what are you listening to this on, blah, blah, blah. So really quickly, I have a VPI Prime with a Hana Umami cartridge, which I just love that cartridge so much. It's so incredible. Just pulls out so much detail, and the bass is big but not exaggerated or bloomy or anything. It's just such a nice, neutral, detailed cartridge. And then for the phono stage, I have a Manley Chinook. All four tubes are rolled out with NOS Telefunkens, which are incredible. I got those in upscale audio. I have a Heron preamp. I love Heron gear. I'm still looking desperately for a Heron tube phono preamp. If you have one that you want to sell, let me know. I love Keith Heron. I've read interviews with him. I've seen interviews with him. I think he's one of the great freak geniuses of all time in hi-fi audio. At the bottom, I have an inacoustic power conditioner. And I know this is another one of those hot topics, which could be a whole video in itself, but regardless of where you live, whether you've pulled a separate line, any of that, you need a power conditioner. The power conditioner will improve the sound of your system so much. For the tone arm cables, I have some Kimber Silver. All the rest of the interconnects are also by Kimber, PB&Js, and some other stuff. I needed to get a new one because it was a really long run from the stand into the amp. I have all Nordost power cords, and I have Nordost Baldur speaker cables, flat cables, by-wire, killer, amazing, clear sound, silver inside. For my power amp, I have a Krell KSA 350 500 watt amp, monster amp, incredible sound. And my speakers are Infinity IRS Sigmas, incredible, incredible speakers. So I may do another video later in more in depth about the system and what I think about each component and why I chose them to go with each other and the synergy that that creates. But for now, I hope that satisfies everyone's curiosity as to what kind of gear I'm using to make these comparisons. So first up, we have an original RCA living stereo. This is Jascha Heifetz doing the Sibelius Violin Concerto in D, conducted by Walter Handel, and the Chicago Symphony, recorded at Chicago Symphony Hall in 1959. I made a whole video last year sometime about the Sibelius Violin Concerto. I had 10, 12 versions I compared, so you can watch that video. I'll link it down below. So I'm not going to get too much into the music. I will say, though, that I love Jascha Heifetz, and this version in particular is just notorious for being just blistering fast. This is an incredible, precise, precision, virtuosic performance by Heifetz. His version on this recording goes by like 5, 6, 7 minutes, sometimes faster than other versions. The cadenzas are absolutely breathtaking. If you watch the other video, you will know that I actually prefer Oistrakh as a violinist, and especially on this performance, but that takes nothing away from Heifetz's performance in any way. So this copy is just flawless. It looks and sounds like it was just pressed yesterday. It's just in mint condition, 1S stampers, for all the stamper people and the dead wax people. This record is one of the best living stereo records I've ever heard. It's absolutely incredible, stunning. Heifetz violin on this sounds so alive, and it's recorded really up front, almost to a point where it's like you have Heifetz here and the orchestra is a little bit recessed in the back, but you can hear every inflection, you can hear every double stop, the bow on the strings, all of it, the grit and the passion and the speed and everything is perfectly audible on this recording. And on the original, his tone is so organic and beautiful and nice and like very, very woody sounding, very natural. The orchestra sounds powerful. It sounds wide, deep black background. Just an incredible record all the way around. This is the 2015 Analog Productions version, mastered by Ryan K. Smith. This record also sounds incredible, but most of the things I was describing about Heifetz's violin aren't really in this one for some reason. It sounds a little less alive. It sounds a little more like muted in a way. It doesn't have the top end, the very, very top end sounds a little bit rolled off to my ears and to Michael's ears. And it just sounds less alive and organic, and maybe that's because this was cut on tube gear, this was solid state. I don't know, I couldn't really tell you exactly why, but it has a distinct tonal difference, and it definitely is lacking some of the character and the magic, the juju, if you will, of the first one. It's technically a very, very nice sounding record, but I feel like it lacks a little something emotionally on the human side of things. And also, the original is just in such pristine condition. I have other versions of it also. I have 2 or 3 other versions of this that don't sound this good. If I were Tom Port from Better Records, I probably would have sold this original for $500-600 and called it a hot stamper, but I just sold it for a normal price. And that also reminds me, I've been thinking about making this video for a while, but I actually wanted to sell the records first, the originals, so that it didn't seem like, oh, I'm trying to sell you records or whatever. This is just purely for our fun and amusement and education. It's like a little bit of a pet peeve of mine and maybe other people's when they do shootout records, and it's like, they'll go through 10 records and then somehow magically the one that's the greatest sounding is the one that they have 500 copies of that they're selling currently. And I just always take that with a bit of a grain of salt. So I'm just letting you know, I'm not trying to sell any of these records. They're sold. You could buy the Analog Productions records off of me. You could buy them from somewhere else. Most of them I think are out of print. I know this one's out of print. Next up, this is the Analog Productions from 2015 also. This is Heifetz, Munch, and Boston doing the Mendelssohn and Prokofiev concertos. The Mendelssohn concerto I love so much. You play it, it'll get stuck in your head all day into the next day. One of the greatest themes in all of the violin concertos, I think. And this Analog Production sounds really nice, really warm, strong bass. The violin is out front. It has a lot of the qualities that the Sibelius didn't have. It has more of an alive, woody feeling. I wouldn't say this record in particular sounds as good as either of the Sibelius recordings, just on a record-to-record level. I just don't think the sound is as good as that one, but it's very nice. This is a 1960 first press. This one is a 4S, and I'm not the kind of person who lives and dies in the dead wax or anything. I have other versions of this also. This one definitely doesn't sound as good as the Analog Productions one. This one sounds thin It's lacking the bass that the Analog Productions has, and it's very not compressed as in like a compressor was used, but it's very compressed in the sound spectrum that it occupies. It doesn't go very deep, it doesn't go very high, it's very like mid forward, which for just listening to the violin is great. The violin tone on this is better actually than the Analog Productions, but the overall record itself isn't as rounded and warm and powerful. It's definitely just living in the mid-range. And so for the second one, I will give that to the Analog Productions. And this one is not an Analog Productions. This is a 1999 Classic Records version of Heifetz doing the Bruch Concerto in G and the Mozart Concerto in D major. Malcolm Sargent conducting the New Symphony Orchestra of London. I have never been a big fan of the Mozart violin concertos. I much prefer the work of the more romantic and modern composers. So I didn't even listen to this to put it into the comparison. But the Bruch Concerto in G, on the other hand, I love that piece of music so much. Another one that you listen to, this will get stuck in your head for sure. I have Ricci, Kyunghwa Chung, Oistrakh, Grumio, Yehudi Menuhin, Itzhak Perlman. I have everyone doing this version. I have everyone doing this piece. And this is one I think Heifetz just plays incredibly, incredibly well. It's so beautiful. And all I can say about the classic records is it sounds good. It sounds really good. It sounds nice. It sounds natural. This is a Bernie Grundman cut. I've never been a huge fan of Bernie Grundman's classical remasters, but that again also probably for another video. But this 1963 RCA First Press Indianapolis, these are 2S stampers, and this recording is the most drastically different. This recording just blows that Classic Records, out of the water, man. It's like everything that the Classic Records is, this is better. It's weightier, it's deeper. The sound stage is deeper, the orchestra is wider, it's more filled in, and it just has that same, like in the Sibelius, it has just this organic, natural beauty to it that sounds so much like real music. I feel like I can really hear the humanity and the thoughtfulness in this playing. And probably if I had to pick one out of all 6 of these records that was the best sounding record, it would be this one. This record is so powerful. It's just one of the greatest living stereos ever made. I think I've pretty much heard every living stereo at this point, multiple pressings for all of them. And I would say probably 50–60% of them don't sound good at all. Then there's maybe another 20% that sound really good, and there's kind of just that 10%, the top of the living stereos are really up there with the greatest recordings from Decca, which I think is the greatest sounding classical label ever. I also personally love the sound of Mercury. I know some people don't like it, but I love the rawness and the closeness of it all. But anyhow, it's getting dark now at the shop, and I just wanted to make a video as quickly as I possibly could and just compare all of these. So really, it's like, if you can't find near mint or mint copies of these records, obviously the Analog Productions or the Classic Records will do. But the magic that the originals have is just something else, man. I think they're definitely worth seeking out and trying to find. I think they're definitely worth spending the money on. This one right here, that sounds so much better, is actually less expensive than an Analog Productions record. So keep hunting them out. I have many other Heifetz records, also Analog Productions, Classic Records, originals, second pressings, whatever. I just wanted to do these 3 because they were the most prominent. And I hope that was fun and enjoyable. And there are many more videos to come where we can get more into gear or more into the performances. I mean, I did do the really in-depth Sibelius concerto video already, but more of those are coming up. It's just harder to do it here at the store and be listening and cleaning records and pricing records and talking to people and hanging out and doing 10 things at once. It's where really when I do the listening, I like to move the bins out of the way after the shop is closed and do some serious listening. Okay, everyone, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.